Oh man, UK boxing is back at it. So look, man, it's looking like the Conor Benn and Chris Eubank Jr., a heavily anticipated fight, might be called off. We're unsure yet of what will, happen in the end, but it's looking like this fight has no reason to go forward. So basically, to make a long story short, Conor Benn failed a drug test. Despite initial fights to keep the fight going, it's looking more and more like the British Boxing Commission won't let this happen, which makes sense. They're a little bit stricter in America when it comes to blood tests, but at the same time, we've seen this happen before. And let's take a read of Benn's quotes. This is what he said out of his mouth. I wanted to say this personally. You guys have read what the Daily Mail published about me today, and I want you guys to hear it personally from me rather than read it in a statement from me and my team. I've not committed any violations. I've not been suspended. So as far as I'm concerned, the fight's still going ahead. I've spoken to Chris personally, and we both want the fight to go ahead. We've both taken medical and legal advice, and we both want the fight to happen for the fans. I've signed up to every voluntary anti-doping test there is under the sun. Throughout my whole career, all my UK tests have come back negative. I've never had any issues before. Even in the lead up to this fight, my tests have come back negative. So my team will find out why there's been an initial adverse finding in my test, but as far as I'm concerned, the fight's still going ahead. I'm a clean athlete, and we'll get to the bottom of this. I'll see you all on Saturday. So it sounds like Conor Benn's pretty optimistic and confident that this was, some kind of fluke test result, some kind of happenstance, I guess. And it looks like a bunch of fighters are, clamming at the bit to fight Chris Eubank in Conor Benn's place. I don't really care much for a replacement fighter making that fight. This was more about them two capturing a legacy of their fathers and giving this generation a chance to see, how this generation of the sons would work out. A fight between the sons would work out. This was exactly what that was supposed to be. Two dangerous fighters in their prime fighting the same way their dads did. That's what this was supposed to be about. It looks like the fight is currently off, but the public workout's still going. Conor Benn, as I speak, is in the ring doing his media workout. It looks like even if the fight's off, they want to continue the hype and keep the hype there. I'm not exactly sure what that will do. I mean, if the fight's off, the fight's off. But it looks like the zone is desperate for this fight to go ahead. They probably need a big pay-per-view after losing the AJ fight, the AJ and Fury fight. But, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if the fight still happens. They're going to find somebody to sanction this fight. It's way too much money at stake. But I don't think we've got the B sample from Benn yet. And that's what we're all waiting for, is the B sample. But this is not looking good for British boxing. I'm going to read a statement here from the British Boxing Board of Control. It says, on the evening of October 4th, the Board of British Boxing Board of Control Limited resolved that the contest between Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn, scheduled to take place on the 8th of October, is prohibited, as it is not in the interest of boxing. That was communicated to the boxers and promoters involved on the morning of the 5th of October. So this is a big deal, man. This was communicated to the boxers and the promoters, so nobody is completely in the dark as far as the parties involved. But it seems like they rather keep us in limbo until that B sample comes through. Wow, what a dramatic turn. I mean, we were all expecting this fight to happen. To me, and for me, this weekend was the segue into one of the best weekends boxing's had in a long time, which is next weekend. This was the perfect segue, the perfect, introduction to October fight. A month where I was going to call it Oktoberfest just because there's so much going on in boxing. Such a good, positive schedule for October when it comes to boxing. This is a huge blow. You have over there in UK, Tyson Fury and AJ, contract negotiations kind of fizzling, I guess you would say. Tyson Fury playing a lot of games, a lot of mind games with AJ regarding the contract. So this was one of those fights that you knew was going to happen. I did not expect to wake up to this. I wake up and Matchroom is talking about the fight's canceled, bro. That is mind-blowing, mind-numbing, and it's very disappointing. But, you know, if guys are testing positive, you have to go by the rules. You got to follow the rules, man. You got to follow the rules. There's been plenty of boxers who has, you know, completed the drug test without a positive reaction. So, you know, no excuses for Conor Benn. Although I will say this, I don't know what people expected. Chris Eubank Jr. is a much bigger fighter. And for Conor Benn to even get to a catch weight size, you know, it was going to have to do something dramatic. So, I don't know, man. I can't see this fight not happening just because there's so much money involved, whether that's with the promoters, the actual location, or the gambling. I can't see this fight actually being canceled. Does this give it a little edginess to it? Does this give this fight a little cachet as far as the lead up? You know, if they have us in limbo from now until Friday, then yeah, I mean, that if they have us in limbo from now until Friday and the fight still happens Saturday, then they did exactly what they were supposed to do as promoters. They promoted the fight. You know, even though this is a negative mark on one of the fighters, it still raises interest. It still raises eyebrows. And, you know, maybe you want to see a guy, you don't want to see anybody cheat. But okay, after that's over and both guys agree they still want to fight each other, hey, I want, you know, did the cheating help? So now, this goes two ways. If Conor Benn wins, it's because he was cheating. If Conor Benn loses, it's like, damn, you couldn't even beat the guy and you're on the roids, you know? So, oh, man, you know, this is a huge blow, bro. Like, boxing has to stop this. Boxing has to stop this. This is the only sport where you can be anticipating a fight for 6 months and then 2-3 days before the fight, it's just all gone to shits. So, much respect to the fighters if they still want to fight. I don't know why Chris Eubank would want to fight this guy right now with this information being known. It must be, you know, larger than this, larger than them to him, for him to still want to fight the guy. Now, there's been fighters in the past who've been caught taking fertility drugs. You know, this boosts your testosterone level and hides more of your estrogen level. Just give you an increased stamina, increases your performance, just increases your energy levels, period. More testosterone equals it's easier to gain muscle mass. It's easier to perform with that new muscle mass. And, you know, you just have more juice, man. It's just juice. That's all it is. You know, the commission says that Benn hasn't been suspended and he's free to fight Eubank in London as his B sample has yet to be tested. So we'll see what happens. It looks like the British boxing governing body is really trying to cancel this fight. Conor Benn says that he spoke to Eubank directly. He says verbatim, he believes in me. It's not who I am. It's not what I'm about. He was understanding. That's what Benn said. Throughout my whole career, I've never had any issues before. I'm a clean athlete and we'll get to the bottom of it. Well, we'll see. As we stand right now, the British Boxing Board of Control is not sanctioning the fight. Does that mean the fight? That doesn't mean the fight's off. But there's a process that has to be gone through for the fight to still continue. Conor Benn's not suspended. He is free and clear to fight. So you know, it's all lawyer stuff at this point. It's all legal stuff. What will be allowed? You know, they were supposed to meet at a catch weight in the O2 Arena 30 years after their father, Nigel Benn and Chris Eubank Sr. faced each other in the ring. And, you know, this was much anticipated. The promoters say we have been made aware that a random anti-doping test for Conor Benn conducted by the Voluntary Anti-Doping Association returned an adverse analytical finding for trace amounts of a fertility drug. Mr. Benn has passed a doping control test conducted by the UK Anti-Doping Agency, the anti-doping authority to which the British Boxing Board of Control has delegated its doping control testing for the bout. Mr. Benn has passed all doping control tests conducted by UKAD. Both fighters have taken medical and legal advice and are aware of all relevant information and wish to proceed with the bout this Saturday. It is conceivable that the promoters could find another body to sanction the bout, and I think they will. A fight between David Haye and Chisora was sanctioned by Luxembourg Boxing Federation 10 years ago, despite neither boxing having a license at the time. Neither boxer had a license. It still got sanctioned. It's been done before. It's not something I've looked at before or something I necessarily agree with, Hearn said. But at the end of the day, there has to be some harsh conversation with the board to understand what the process is moving forward. This is not a situation where we want to run rogue and come up with alternative plan. We want our governing body to be comfortable. So Benn tested positive for the female fertility drug clomiphene at the end of August or beginning of September. And the promoters who represent Eubank were made aware of that. The drug, also known as clomiphene, is on the World Anti-Doping Agency's list of banned substances. Conor Benn's agent told TalkSport he did not regard it as a performance-enhancing drug, but said it can raise testosterone. We discussed it straight away with the most important person from our side, the athlete, he said. He was happy to continue and spoke to Benn directly. I'm sorry, this is Eubank's manager. A 157 limit has been put in place for the catchweight bout. Eubank Jr. faces the task of dropping down from 160, where he has spent most of his career. Well, Benn was at 146 when he beat Chris Van Heerden in April. Failure to make the contracted weight by either fighter on Friday would result in a $100,000 fine for each pound recorded over the limit. You come in 2 pounds over, it's $200,000 out your pocket. Eubank and Benn's fathers famously met twice in the 1990s, with the former winning first fight and the rematch ending in a draw. So these guys have, I don't know if this fight's necessary. They're doing a lot to make this weight. Both fighters are. It's a dangerous catch weight for both fighters, but we'll see. We'll see. I hope this fight still continues just for the sake of entertainment at this point. Almost have to throw away caring about who wins or loses at this point. Because, once this is tainted like this, it's hard to go back to actually having that competitive spirit towards watching it, where it's like, all right, this guy won because he was better that night. That guy won because that's out the window. You know what I mean? That's the danger in this sport. With all the testing, guys still don't make themselves aware of how to pass these tests. And it's scary, man. You never know when a fight might be canceled at the last second. All you can do is trust that athletes are going to have some kind of integrity and use good judgment. But, we'll give updates later. I believe they're going to find somebody else to sanction this fight. We'll see. Respect.